Hello and welcome to another episode of Friday Night Knits. And I'm coming to you a little late because I just got back from a wonderful trip to my home state. So I was born in New York but raised in Georgia, and I got a chance to watch my beautiful cousin graduate from the high school that her mother and I graduated from, and it was so wonderful. Not only did I get a chance to see her graduate, but two of my classmates that I also graduated from, who are good friends of both her mother and I, were also in attendance. Now, we've known each other since third grade, and it was so awesome to introduce them, or reintroduce them, I should say, to my children and husband, just to give everyone a chance just to connect with one another. And it was amazing bringing my kids to different locations that have significant memories for me as a child and adolescent. I also showed them the first place where my best friend from high school got a car accident, as well as where I had my first car accident. I also ran across, quite by accident, my old elementary school. So it was a really nostalgic but joyful trip. And during this particular journey, one of the things I wanted to talk about in today's video, as hopefully as quickly as possible, is about preparing for your travels. So as you all know, we all travel, and whenever we do, we try to bring as many objects with us as possible for us to work on. And one thing I found that allowed me to be successful on this particular trip was picking a project that I knew that I could socialize with, but also that was engaging enough where I wouldn't get bored with it. So for this project, I'm actually going to reach over and grab it because I finished it. Give me 1 second. It is wet block. It's wet blocking or wet block. I don't know. I just put it in washing it and I finished it. So these are the Checkmate socks. This particular pattern is done by Stone Knits, and I love it. It's been great, and I had such a great time doing it. It was Mother's Day weekend, as we all know, and I celebrated it with my family by just completely isolating myself in my yarn room to work on other projects. But my youngest son, who's 9 years old, was like, he wanted to buy yarn for me for Mother's Day. I was like, that's very sweet, but do you have money to buy yarn, or am I going to be spending my money? And he's like, you're going to be spending your money, which I ended up doing. So not on Mother's Day, we ended up going a few days later because he had a doctor's appointment. And so he was like, I still need to get you yarn, mommy. I was like, okay. So he and I went to Circle of Stitches, which is located in Salem, Massachusetts, which is about a 30-minute drive from my home. If there's traffic, it's significantly more than that. But anywho, we went there, and he was walking around the store with me, and I was, taking my sweet time, as we all do when we're in a yarn store. Sorry, I'm pulling up the project. And he was like, do you see anything you like, come on, let's wrap it up. And I'm like, browsing, looking at yarn, touching it, imagining what I can make with it. And then I was like, okay, Angelo, pick out which yarn you like. And so he picked out the color yarn that you see here. And I was like, what, those are my colors. It has purple and teal. It has a little bit of pink. And that's my phase right now. I don't know why, but these are the colors I'm really into. And the yarn that this is, oh boy, I always say it wrong. La Bienne. Why do I struggle with this? In my brain, I say it properly. I don't know why the words will not come out. But La Bienne yarn, it's their super sock. For each skein, you get 465 yards, which is about 425 meters. And the colorway I have, I don't remember. And he kept the tag to show proof he purchased it. And I can't find where he put it. And so I'm trying to channel my inner 9-year-old to think where he would have placed this particular tag, because I got it back from him, but I didn't have the opportunity to input it into my Ravelry. But it is a multicolored yarn. It is absolutely beautiful. As you can see, it has like a little self-striping-ness to it. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, I definitely think this is the one that's a good choice. And so then I was going to, because I need more white or cream color yarns, sock yarns specifically. And I noticed that I didn't have that in my collection of yarn. And so while I was there, I was like, I want to get at least 1 or 2 skeins of a cream or a pure white yarn, so that way I can use it either as an accent or a yarn for a project like this. And I was going to get another skein of the La Bienne, but then I just happened to come across another yarn that was new to me. Never heard of this vendor before. I was like, wow, this yarn, La Bienne, it is $36, and this yarn is $19. They're pretty much in the same colorway. They have the similar texture, makeup, and quantity of yardage, why wouldn't I buy the $19 yarn? So I bought the $19 yarn, which I'm glad I did because it was absolutely a joy. And so that particular yarn, that one is called the Circulo. Hopefully I'm saying it correctly. I'm going to put all this on either on the screen or in description. Plus you can check it out in my Ravelry. But nevertheless, I picked it, loved it, and ended up making these socks instantly. So I got home, I put it on to the ball winder behind me, and got it wound up, and next thing you know, I'm casting on. But I couldn't decide which pattern I wanted to cast on. And as I was scrolling through Still Knits, I'm like, I want to do something that's textured and color work, but also stripy at the same time. And so I came across her Checkmate socks, and I knew that this was the right pair for me. And what I'm so proud about are my floats. My floats look amazing. They both fit on my feet. And I did something different with the heel. I didn't do what the pattern called for. It looks the pattern I believe is a heel flap and gusset, but I love my shadow wrap heel, and so I did a shadow wrap heel. And so I was like, can I do this in the same pattern as the pattern? And I was able to do it. And so I mean, it's not perfect, but it pretty is pretty seamless, and I am so proud of myself. I've never done that type of modification before on a sock. And I was afraid it wouldn't fit the heel because the number of stitches I had did not correlate with what I typically use for a shadow wrap heel. So I had to do some increasing in order to make it work, but I made it work and it fits on my foot. So that's all that matters. So anyway, why I share all this is that after I made that purchase for myself on Mother's Day, which was a gift from my son, I wanted to think about what am I going to bring with me to this trip to Georgia. I knew I was highly addicted to this particular pattern. Doing the stripes and the Checkmate, it was calling me all the time to like work on, even though, as you all know, we have plenty of projects to do, myself included. So I decided that I wanted to make this my main project, and this is the reason why. This lovely bag here. So I am a big fan of those I think they call them crossbody bags. I love the look of them, and I love the convenience of it as well. I'm not a purse person, never have been and never will. My sister-in-law gave me a purse a few months ago. I think it was for Christmas or some holiday as a gift. And I'm like, oh, a project bag. And she's like, no, a purse. I'm like, a project bag. And because I'm genuinely not a purse person. But the reason why I am so attached to this one because of all the different pockets that it has, and I could put it on my back or on my chest and it would feel comfortable. So for my trip, I wanted to bring a minimum amount of projects with me because I knew we were seeing multiple days. I also knew that the airline was now charging some crazy fee now. If you bring anything, if your carry-on is more than 22 pounds, they were going to charge you an additional $89 in order to bring it on the plane if you wanted to be priority in order to have access to the overhead. And I'm like, that is just ridiculous. So to ensure that I was able to pack all the projects I wanted to, as well as the things we needed as a family, I decided to utilize this particular bag, and I'm so proud of myself for it. And so with this bag in itself, which why I was excited to bring the socks along with me, is that it has this pocket right here that allows me to keep all the like miscellaneous things like my face mask, my notions pouch, and inside is where I kept the package, where I kept my knitting in itself. So I kept the knitting in the main pocket with a zipper. I did the ball fall out of the bag one time because I forgot to close the zipper and roll down the aisle. It sure did. But fortunately, people were kind enough to bring it back to me. So one thing I will definitely say is that when you are, now that I did all this rambling, getting to the point, when you are traveling, the number one thing you want to make sure is thinking about what is the item that you're going to keep the project in. Is this a project that you're going to be working on in a plane? If so, you want a project bag that is accessible, that's going to hold your entertainment while you are on the plane, when you want to put down your knitting and you want to like read your book or listen to an audiobook or podcast or something is going to engage you. So I'm glad I had the crossbody because it allowed me to read my Kindle. That I have the Kindle app on my phone, so I was able to read my book and when needing to take a break from knitting because I noticed my hands get a little cramped by using a 9-inch circular needles. It also allowed me to pack a second project in there too because the two balls of yarn, they were I don't know, for whatever reason, the two balls of yarn felt really lightweight, and I was able to stuff them all the way down to the bottom and pack this little item. Now, for most folks, they probably see this as a makeup bag, but for me, I see it as another project bag because I don't wear makeup. Not to say I judge any of those who do, but that's not what I see when I have this bag. And it holds my project. So the second project I brought with me to Georgia, in addition to my socks, is the Saville dress. This is a pattern that I know is going to be long term. I've talked about it already, so I'm not going to go into too much detail with it. As you can see, I made some progress on it, and that's because I finished my socks, and so I decided to let this be my new while I'm interacting with my family, have this project. So then that will be my second tip, which is, I think everyone knows who travels. Whenever you travel, you want to make sure you bring a project that you can still socialize with your peers, that you can have a conversation with. What's awesome about this project as well is with the socks, not as much with the socks if I'm being truthful. I don't have to look down as I'm knitting. I can work on this and not look and see what I'm doing and just have a grand old time. Whereas the socks, it did require a little bit more engagement, which is why it paired excellent with my audiobook. But I will definitely say I am glad I decided to bring this. Now, both projects were pretty time consuming. Like, I'm not the fastest knitter, but I'm not a totally slow knitter either. And so what I found with this particular project, as well with the socks project and the dress, that with the activities that we were doing for graduation and visiting, it was easy to put down and pick back up where I left off. So in the morning, I was working on a project and was knit, and then it was time to go do whatever activity with the fam. And then I was able to bring my project with me, obviously, and I was knit. And then when I needed to, I could just put it down and then pick it back up again when I was ready to engage with it. So I think that was my favorite aspect about the traveling, that it did not require a lot of note taking, like make sure you do X, Y, and Z. That doesn't matter if I was in the middle of a row, that it doesn't throw off everything I needed to do. So that was probably another really awesome aspect of bringing both projects. Now, the third project I decided to bring with me, which brings me to my third tip, was my Rosie sweater. My Rosie sweater right now is at a point where I'm just knitting it around in the body. I successfully finished the motif for the sleeves. I still need to do the second one, and then that's it. And I am going to do the second one, but I just need to work in around on the body for both, and around for the sleeves to the same length as the body, and then do the second motif. So I knew that that could be my backup. So just in case I used up all the yarn I brought with me for this project, I'm glad I had that. Now I'm using, well, right now I'm only using one ball, but I've been using two balls at a time when knitting the Saville dress in order to create the fabric, because the pattern calls for a DK weight, and I'm holding 2 strands of cotton merino by Knitting for Olive in order to make this. And the colorway that I have in my hands is right now is called Dark Orchid, I believe. Again, or Orchid. It's going to be in the description. It's also located on my Ravelry page. I am in loving the fabric that this is making. So today, when we were flying back, I knew I did not feel like dealing with the management of 2 balls, because I'm cramming this sizable project. It has grown quite a bit from the first time I placed it into that little green notions pouch. So it makes it's a little bit of a struggle now to fit it in there. Like it's starting to get a little wrinkled because of the way I'm scrunching it in there, and I don't want it to get too wrinkled as well, so, or mess up the fabric. So I will be retiring that particular bag for this project, and because I didn't want the struggle on the plane of managing 2 balls at a time, I decided just to pull the yarn from this one. And it was a little cumbersome because it kept getting tangled in this section here. You see how it's getting tight, and I had to remind myself that this yarn is fairly old. I've had this for 3 years now. I purchased this, the first 6 or 8 balls, I can't remember how much, came from Circle of Stitches, and the rest of my quantity came from Wool and Company. So I've had this yarn for, I'm sorry, I have wool all over my face because I have it all over the place, and I feel it just hitting everywhere on my nose. But anyway, I didn't want to deal with that. So with that said, I decided just to pull from one strand. Now, could I have worked on my Rosie sweater? No. But I'm glad that I had it there as a backup. If I needed to just interact with a different set of needles or the yarn, because the Cardiff cashmere is definitely a lot softer than a Knitting for Olive, but it also has its own nuance that makes it challenging at times when working with it because it can be a little splitty, at least for me. I can't speak for others. So with that said, when you are traveling, if you want some unsolicited advice, make sure that you do these three things. Have the right project bag, a bag that's going to allow you to put the entire project and all the tools that you need in order to work on it or to complete it in that one bag. So for my socks, I had the 9-inch circular needles as well as the 24, no, I'm using a 32-inch fixed knitted needles in order to work in and around or do magic loop. And I needed all that plus my scissors and my stitch markers and all that jazz. So the project bag was a great help, or the crossbody bag that I purchased was a great help in allowing me to be successful with that. Number two, bring a second knit with you because you're going to finish your first one if you have that level of time. We were on this trip for quite a few days. Well, it felt like quite a few days for myself and my kids, but maybe it wasn't that long. But anywho, I'm glad I had this project, the Saville project, and a Rosie sweater, because if I really got engaged with this and finished it faster than what I thought, I'm glad I had something else to work on in a hotel, because it's nothing worse than traveling without that, backup project, which brings me to my final tip. With your backup project, let it be very similar to the reasons why you chose the other two, that it's something easy to do, whether it's just knitting in around or it's such an engaging project that you can put it down and pick it back up and know exactly what you need to do and how you need to do it. And so I think that's the reason why all three projects worked well for this particular trip. When the last time my family and I traveled together to Georgia, I did not have this level of success. I unfortunately brought only one project with me, and I miscalculated the amount of yarn I needed to work on it, because it was the cherry sweater, which you can wear it as a summer top or you can wear it as a full sweater. And I was making it as a summer top, and I did not bring enough of the main color. I only bought the stripes. And yeah, it was a complete fiasco, and I hated it so much that I ended up donating the yarn to someone else because I was just over it. So with that said, I learned my lesson by just taking the time out and plan myself in my journal, sat down and I went through like the pros and cons of bringing each project, and I narrowed it down to these three, and I'm glad that I went forward with it. Could I bought the lakes pullover? Could I bought other garments that are on the needles? I have so many projects on the needles, it's not even funny. Absolutely. But I am genuinely glad I did that. I did not have any opportunities to visit yarn stores while I was in Georgia. It was not actually something I ever did, even as a kid and adolescent, even though I crocheted as a child. For me, when I lived in Georgia, my yarn purchases came from Kmart and Walmart. Walmart more so when I was older in college, but when I was in middle school and high school, anytime I did purchase yarn, it was always from Kmart. And so I don't know where any yarn stores are. I've watched a few YouTube channels that mention different yarn stores. I'm like, oh, I want to go, but I never have time because when I'm there, I'm just interacting with my family. I don't even have an opportunity to go sightseeing as much as as I would like to as well. So my hope the next time I get down to Georgia, which it looks like I might be going back in August, is to make a trek to some local yarn store. I know when we were driving, I saw something with craft in it, but then my cousin told me that that was for craft beer. And I'm like, no, I don't want any craft beer. I wanted some crafts as well. So that it worked out the way it was supposed to as well. So great trip. I'm glad I bought the projects that I did with me. I'm happy to be home in my yarn room where I can surround myself with my yarn. I found my Diz and threader. I had lost it, so that's really helpful. It's a helpful tool in order to help me be a little bit more efficient with the drafting. I need to locate my freezer bags because I want to take all the yarn, especially the single skeins I have, and put them into these freezer bags now that we're hopefully going to transition back into the warmer weather. Am I really hopeful about it? No. But anywho, I want to put those into a Ziploc bag so that way I don't have to worry about any little friends moving in and having a great time, because I've unfortunately have been dealing more and more with these little baby moths or wool eating insect. I don't know if they're moths or wool eating insect, because when I take a picture of it and try to look it up on Google, it doesn't give me the name of whatever this creature is. So I'm just calling it a wool eating insect because it has been a greedy little thing and having a great time with my wool, but it's all good. It's all good. My camera almost turned off for a second. So that just means I need to wrap this up, which I should, because my children are really quiet and I know it's not because they're tired. So anywho, I want to thank you so much for joining me on this quick episode of Friday Night Knits. I will be coming back to you soon to share with you, probably 2 weeks, to share with you updates about my projects, as well as some additional planning tips, because I will be traveling long term for work in the upcoming future, and I got to get ready for that as well. I also would love to, for a really quick bit, to see if anyone would like to share what are you working on this summer. We all have different projects that we are gravitating towards. I've noticed on my Ravelry page that almost every petite knit pattern is on hot right now, except for the vernaculus. The vernaculus is always on my feed. So are you working on a petite knit pattern? I'm currently not, which is no, I'm lying to Dagmar. Like, that's odd, because I'm always working on a petite knit pattern. Between her, Veronica Lindbergh, and Andrea Mari, I don't think I knit anyone else as exclusively as I do them. But anywho, I'm hoping to branch into other knitwear designers and to try on their aesthetic and creating something beautiful either for myself or for one of my loved ones. Speaking of which, I was told by my cousin when I was down in Georgia, I made her this beautiful crochet blanket that she had up. And I was like, oh my God, you actually use it? I'm like, yes, that makes me so happy. And she was talking about the socks I made her and how she wants another pair. And I was like, of course. But I've been off of this yarn buying tip. I know that Mother's Day was an exception because my son wanted to get me yarn, but I wanted to make my own sock yarn. That's another goal of mine. So in addition to doing this massive project for the sea glass sweater, I'm hoping to spin wool for my first sock project. So I think I'm going to do a practice set before I do one for her, so she can have it. I'm going to watch some YouTube videos just to learn a little bit more about the spin to knitting of socks. I think it's going to be super, super cool. And I hope to capture that journey just to share with you what's working for me and what's not. I also hope in 2 weeks, in the next episode that I share with you, to finally tell you about the conclusion of the Rosie sweater and give you my full opinion about that. And then what else? I think that's it. That's all I would like to share. Except for this. Okay. I know I keep saying I'm going to wrap this up, but this time I really mean it. I also read or listened to, I think it's been a week, almost going on 2. It's called Death of the Author. This was one of the most incredible stories I read that I did not think I was actually going to like. And this author did a really great job of bringing up the concerns that we as a human society have about AI, as well as the curiosity and excitement that people have about it. And what else does she do? She taught. She also integrated the dynamics of siblings, and that competitiveness yet support, protectiveness yet dismissal that siblings have sometimes with one another. I am an only child, but I do have a lot of cousins who are like siblings to me as well. So I could definitely relate to some of the experiences that she included in the story about the characters. In another aspect of it was just the narration that she did, that it was very clear about the different voices of each character. Sometimes, especially in an audiobook, it can be a little muddled or muddied, I think. is a better way of putting it. And I really was able to just fall in love with each aspect of what she was doing in the story. So if you're looking for a new beach read because you are living in a climate that's more beachy, or a good rainy day like we have here in New England where it's 53 degrees outside, it feels more like it's 44 degrees. I'm in my sweatshirts again, which again, I'm not really complaining. I'm trying to act like, oh man, it's so disappointing that it's so cold out. As I'm like, yes, the heat can go back on. But I'm not. I'm not gonna put the heat back on. I'm tempted to. But anyway, I digress. I definitely just wanted to make that recommendation. It was absolutely amazing. And so now I am going to put on the W.E. Du Bois documentary. I've been hearing so much about it. I watched the interview with the director of the documentary. So, and all my peers who also teach AP AFAM were talking about how dope it is. And I'm like, I need some uninterrupted time. I did my grocery shopping already. I started laundry. So now is just a perfect time to do that. So, which is why I'm going to bid you a farewell. Thank you so much for joining me on this fun Sunday edition of Friday Night Knits. And I look forward to sharing with you the updates about my current works in progress in 2 weeks.